So last week when I was at the summit with other Unity leaders down in California, we talked about lots of things, formally and informally. You have some great conversations sitting in the hotel lobby. You just do. That's how it is. And there was something on our minds. It's on the minds of hearts of lots of people lately. And that is, how far do we go as individuals and as an organization to advocate for causes that we care about? And of course, the answer is colored by our personal experiences and perspective, but we were all in agreement is that what we had to come first from a place of spiritual groundedness. Always first. This is not a new idea to go to prayer first. Moses went up the mountain. Jacob wrestled with the angel in the desert. Jesus went aside to pray many times in the narrative, and more recent heroes like Mother Teresa and Dr. Martin Luther King were fueled by faith to keep standing for their causes. And current religious leaders such as the Dalai Lama and the Pope continue to advocate for compassion and taking care of all people. And they, of course, are also deeply rooted in their faith. So how do we bridge the gap? None of us have spent time committed to spiritual study and prayer and meditation at the level of the Dalai Lama and the Pope. It's a lifetime commitment that they've made. We're a little behind them. It's going to take a little bit to catch up, just saying. But we start where we are. We all don't need to be that to make a difference. And for me, this comes back to our statement of belief, which is that there's one presence and one power in the universe. And if we can come back to this, to remember that we are that same energy puts each together. We all have the same energy, and we just seem to be in different forms, but it's an illusion. We can remember that each person and animal and tree, etc., we come across is also bits of this same divineness. When we remember that, it changes our perspective. So, how do we get there to remembering that divineness and oneness and connection in the midst of what seems like difficult times? How do we do or know what's ours to do and what is not? There are countless causes to get involved in and get excited about and become emotionally engaged in, and it can get overwhelming. And things we see going on in the world and in our own neighborhoods, there's never-ending amount of things that we could be doing. And this is, to me, where our faith and our spiritual practice comes into play. Because we can't do everything. You've probably heard me talk about the lenses we see the world through. We all have them. Our lives and our experiences shape how we understand the world around us. It's true for everyone. However, I believe we are most effective in our ability to make a difference when we, clear the glasses some. Wipe them off, take them off. And we do this, we clear the glasses through our prayer and our meditation and our centering practices. One of my seminary teachers, Dr. Tom Shepard, who also happens to be my father-in-law, but before he was my father-in-law, he said, and he probably still does say, he always says to describe before you prescribe. Describe before you prescribe. And what he means by that is to hear and understand the situation the perspective, the whatever you're looking at, before deciding what to do about it or what's going on. That you need to understand before you take action or make a judgment or just whatever. So that's pretty good, right? Describe before you prescribe. So if I can really understand where you're at and what's going on, then we can move on to if there's a solution or if there's a change or if there's something in action that needs to be taken. So this method of first we get centered, then we seek understanding, and then we take action. This is how I believe we discover what it is that we have the persistent energy for to stand up in the storm. Instead of running every which way on whatever dirt devil that springs up, right? We've probably all experienced that too. Maybe somebody else. We just saw somebody else doing it. But even this morning, so Mary Ellen's home with the sniffles. So I had a few extra things to do because like she makes the coffee in the morning and unlocks the doors. But then also, I had the chili to bring and set up for that, and I still had to take down the stuff in the Taizé. So like I had a lot of extra stuff along with my normal Sunday morning things to do. And you could easily fall into a, like gotta run around and see I forgot to move the tree. Forgot to move the tree. And that's the only thing I forgot, I think, so woohoo. But I could have, I felt myself starting to be in like a, and I was like, just do the things that you need to do. And so I did. I just moved briskly from one thing to the next, and every time I moved this way, I was like, okay, what do I need to take back that way? And I know, this is efficient and got things done. No stress, just taking care of business. And then I was ready, except for moving the tree, which I forgot. And I was like, all right, I'm waiting for everybody to get here. I was ready to go. It's just a conscious choice, right? And so, and that's a small scale, but throughout my life, I have been approached by people who are really fired up about something and they thought that it was the most important thing. You probably have had that experience as well. And when somebody thinks that something is the most important thing, they think beyond a shadow of a doubt that that's the thing that you should be doing too, and it should be your most important thing. Maybe it is. But we can easily be pulled in by every passionate story. And the problem with that sometimes is that you can be spread really wide, but not very deep. And so sometimes when I've been approached by a passionate, excited person, I do not do what the socially expected thing is, which of course is to say, oh, that's great, yes, I'll help with that. And sometimes that is what you want to do. But sometimes I say, I'm going to have to think about that. I'm going to have to pray about that. Or I've already considered being involved in this particular cause, whatever it is that you've got going on, and it's not my thing. Or, as I said a couple weeks ago, it's not my preference. Or it may be not in alignment with my values or what I believe. People have lots of different perspectives on things, and sometimes I'm just like, I just don't have the energy to put into that, or I don't feel like that's my thing. It's okay, because that gives us space to stand firm in what we are. We know what they say when you take a multiple choice test. If you're not sure, at least eliminate the ones that you know aren't it. Sometimes that's how we have to get to what is ours to do, is by eliminating the things we know that aren't. And then you realize what you have left. So in this season of nonviolence, there are lots of ways for us to build up our ability to show up as a peaceful presence in the world. And I believe step one is that it all has to be grounded in faith and in our spiritual connection and our oneness. That's how we stay strong. And it can be hard to have faith when it seems like there's so much evidence otherwise. But I think that too often we think that we can't change the whole thing. We might as well not try. But I say it's the opposite. When you think of someone like Mother Teresa, she made a difference in a lot of people's lives, right? I mean, you don't get the Nobel Peace Prize for doing nothing. She made a lot of difference in a lot of people's lives. But she didn't get all of them. She and her sisters didn't care for every single person. And so she could have said, well, I can't do it all the way. I can't do it well enough, so I guess whatever. I only say that because we've probably seen someone make that choice before. Not necessarily you all. But, so our little things become whatever our thing is, and they continue to be a thing that's important. And you don't necessarily realize how important those things are, but they are, whatever it is yours to do. So more than a couple years ago, a while ago, I was working with the teens at Unity of Independence, and we were doing a curriculum, and it reminded us that in February is the Random Acts of Kindness Week, which starts today. Random Acts of Kindness Week starts today, all week, Random Acts of Kindness Week. And so I challenged my teens to do, I don't remember, we decided 5 random acts of kindness a day or something every day for the week. And then we were all going to report back. And so that was a fun thing. And so my sister, so the day after Valentine's Day, I went to a place that was like a big wholesaler of flowers, and I got a lot of carnations because they were half off. I think it was 4 dozen carnations or something, right? And we went and we parked downtown Lee Summit, which is the town we live in, and we just walked around town and handed a carnation to every person we came across and just said, Happy Random Acts of Kindness Day. And we went in all the stores and handed out carnations. And it was kind of it was a little thing, but it wasn't a little thing because lots of people were like, hey, do it, it was like a whole little buzz happened around that part of town that day. And it was like people were passing, and who knows what else, how far that ripple went, but it made a difference. It was a little thing, but it was a big thing. So when we take the time to say, okay, what is ours? I could have not even brought up that to the kids as part of the curriculum, because there's always a choice what you bring. And so I love that it's Random Acts of Kindness Week. So your challenge, your homework is to go out and do some random acts of kindness, because every little act of kindness matters. And so knowing that whatever you do makes a difference, think about that this week as you're being kind in unexpected ways. Take that extra time in prayer. I believe that when things seem rough, that's when we need to do more prayer, more quiet, more kindness. And so as we deepen our spiritual practice, we are allowing ourselves to see more clearly. We're clearing those lenses and allow that illusion or delusion of separation to fall away, and we can see more clearly the choices, what is our thing to do. A little act of kindness here and there isn't our big thing necessarily. That's just part of our delightful personalities. But what is really your step? What is really your thing to stand up for? What is really your thing to put your time and energy into? And as we get clearer and deeper in our spiritual practice, those things become clearer, and the things that are not ours to do become clearer as well. And that's how we forge through a storm centered in faith, and more powerful and more able to be persistent, consistent with strength and stamina to make it and make it well. When you look at people who keep going through a lot of our leaders, the people who do these things, people who become famous long after they've done something amazing, they knew who they were, they knew what was theirs to do, and that was that, and they did it, right? And where do we find that? In the silence. So, go be kind, even more so than you already are, because you all are fabulous, and take the time to find what's really yours to do.